Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you guys. So today we are starting our system design course, and as part of HLD, our first topic is client server architecture, and it is one of the most important thing whenever we are stepping into system design. We need to first understand what is client, what is server, how they communicate between each other, why it is important, what are the different strategy we follow when we design client server architecture, what is one tier architecture, what is two tier architecture, what is three tier, n tier architectures. Once we are done with this, we'll be talking about thick client, thin client. Also we'll understand what is hybrid client. All these things we are going to understand, like when we should use this, when we have to avoid this, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, so that we'll be having a basic understanding, as well as once we are done with this video, we'll be having a deep understanding of client server architecture. And if we are getting any questions related to this topic in the interview, we should be able to tackle that in a better way. So let's start this video without any delay. So before I start, what is client and server? I'm asking you one question. Like suppose we are going to any restaurant, and there we don't have any like staff whom we can order, or there is no chef, or we can say that any waiter who can serve us food, and there it is written that okay, you have to go to the restaurant, you have to only cook everything, and also once you are done with cooking, you only have to serve, and then you can eat whatever recipe you want to eat. Is it a good way to like we go to restaurant and we do everything by ourselves? Definitely not. Similarly, in system design, or we can see that in software engineering, if we have to do everything by our own, like means if client has to do only everything by their own, it is difficult to manage the resources. So why it is important to segregate things? Basically, as I gave you example of restaurant, like then when we go to any restaurant, first we give order to staff, or we can say the cashier who takes the order. Then they proceed this order to chef, and once they are done with recipe cooking, then they serve it to the like they give it to waiter, and then waiter comes to us and they serve it. Similarly, here client is the one who will request some order, just like how we go to restaurant, we are the person as a client, you can think. So similarly, in the software engineering, client is someone who do request to get something, and server will proceed with that request, and they have to respond with the request that we had sent. So basically, client and server is basically a way where we are isolating the responsibility of client in such a way that client will be having some responsibility and server will be having a separate responsibility, and both will be having their own way to communicate between each other. So here I have given a diagram, or you can say that architecture here. So here this client can be anything, like it can be like suppose you are using phone, you are using laptop, you are using any we can say that printer or scanner. All these things are like client, because these are requesting something to the server, and server based on the request like they are responding response. So if you will see, suppose like we are saying like okay, in a browser we are searching something, that search will go to the server, and further server will search those requests in the database wherever the request needs to be rendered, and once they are done with the request, they will come back to client with their responses. This is basically a client server architecture, where you can see client can be anything, like it can be browser request, it can be from PC monitor, or it can be like a phone, tablet, anything, that those are all client. Server is something where all the process or business logics we have, where we will be dealing with all those things, and server is going to respond with that request that we have sent from client side. So this is basically client server architecture. Now we need to understand why, like how they communicate between each other, because this is very important. We need to understand, like, so see, suppose client is there and we have server, but how they will communicate between each other, we need to understand this first. So to communicate between server and client, we have protocols, network protocols. It can be like here you can see that we can have HTTP protocols, HTTPS protocols that I have not mentioned here. It can be gRPC binary calls, or we can say WebSocket protocols. Like client will establish a connection to the server, and then this will continuously send the response to client. Then it can be having TCP/IP protocols. So these are all the ways we establish connection between client and server, and all the communication happens between them. So this is all about client server architecture, like why we need to understand. You can think in the way like why it is important, because I gave you an example like when we go to any restaurant, there everything doing by own is not easy task, or we can say that it is not the best way to manage the resources. We should have a place where there will be some specific task to client, there will be some specific task to server, and server further can communicate to databases, it can communicate to caching, it can communicate to messaging queues. Depending on the architecture of the system, it can further communicate, and then later server can respond to the client with the request that they had sent initially. So this is client server architecture. Now we need to understand the advantages, why it is important, right? So suppose when we are doing client server architecture, basically we are doing the resource isolation. As I told you, this is the biggest advantages. Like we don't have to heavily depend on any of them. Depending on the use case, we can segregate the responsibility to client as well as on the server. Second benefit is, suppose this is a server we have, and there are like currently we have three clients. Suppose client one, client two, client three. But in future we have more than three clients, or we can say that we had initially n clients, but now it is n square clients, or like millions of clients we can say. Then in that case, if this server is not able to handle all those response, what we can do, we can add one more server. Example like if we go to restaurant, if there is one cashier who is not able to handle, the restaurant owner can hire one more cashier, so that parallelly they can work. So this way we can improve the response time of any request that was sent by client. What is the benefit of this? Like in software engineering, this is called horizontal scaling. We are basically scaling the server. We can scale our databases, we can create shards, we can create partitioning depending on the use case. Also, this is horizontal scaling, because we are increasing the number of servers here. It can be possible like, okay, if one server will be having like a specific what we can say memory uses, or CPU utilization, we can increase that numbers, so that we can one server itself can handle more resources, and that is called vertical scaling. These things we are going to cover in detail once we move to the specific topic that we had covered like in the syllabus. So this is all about advantages. But when we talk about disadvantages, like you can see, suppose for a web application we are using single server, what will happen in that case? Suppose you are using a single server, that is a single point or single source of truth, and in that, if in any case our server is going down, the entire client will be getting no response, or we can say bad gateway, because the server is not behaving properly. And in that case, you can see like, okay, the server is not responding properly, all the clients are in trouble, like, okay, why I'm not getting any response? So this can be a disadvantages. Or in that case, what we need to do, as we discussed, we need to scale our system in such a way that we need to add parallel servers, or we can say that whenever is one server is going down, we can having follower servers which can respond to other requests that was failing from server one. So these are the ways, or these are the disadvantages, but there are some ways we can handle all this, because whenever we design a system, we always have to think about negative scenarios, not just only about positive scenarios. Hope this will give a better idea like what is client server architecture and why it is important. This much about advantages and disadvantages. Now, if I talk about security purpose, so whenever we use client server architecture, it is also important to think about our security, because securing an application is as important as performance and bottlenecks. So why it is important and how it handles security. Basically, suppose if you are doing everything from client side, basically you are exposing credentials, API credentials, you are exposing your passwords or etc. That's not be revealed from the browser side or client side. In that case, also if we are using client server architecture, we are basically giving responsibility to secure our credentials from the server side. We don't expose everything to the client, and that way we make our system secure from the outside users. So that is also one possibility, or we can say one advantage. We can say that using client server architecture, we secure our application. So always, it is better recommended that if we are using any security-led things, we should do it from the server side. Now, let's move to the another thing, that is client weight strategy. And here we are going to talk about thick client, thin client, and hybrid client. What is thick client basically? So in thick client, suppose most of the things, or we can say that when we do business logic more from the client side, in that case client will be called as thick client. Basically, for example, we can take like Microsoft Excel or Adobe. There most of the things we do it from the client side. We don't call server for everything. So these kind of application can be called as like we can say that thick client, because things are being done from the client side. Also we can call server, but majority of things we always try to do it from the client side. For everything we will not call server. That kind of client is called as the client. Now, when we talk about thin client, so thin client is basically when we are dependent on the server for each and everything. The responsibility of front end or UI side is just to display the data or display the ingredients that we receive from the server. That kind of client is basically called as thin client. And generally, if you will see uh, good, very famous applications, they were working in thin client. But nowadays, most of the modern applications they are using hybrid or smart clients. What is this actually? Basically, it is like at a dynamic level, like at a dynamic, it decide dynamically like whether it has to be calculated from the client side. The logic should be calculated from client or server. Depending on that, they decide whether I need to call server or not, or whether I have to do it from the client side. These kind of applications basically use hybrid or smart client. So I hope you understood what is thick client, thin client, and hybrid client. And here, if you will see, like you can see here example like minimum logics. If we write at the client side, then it is called thin client. You can take the example here like browsers, mainframe terminals. When we talk about this hybrid client, for example, Facebook kind of thing, like there we have logics from the UI side as well as from the backend side. So those kind of clients we call as hybrid or smart client. So this was about client weightage. Now we talk about two-tier or direct access, and we'll talk about the three-tier and tier other things. So here, what actually two-tier architecture is. So basically, when a client is directly communicating with the database, or like it is directly communicating with the uh, third party, like there is no middleman. In that case, direct communication between two layers is called as two-tier architecture. So basically, here you can see client is directly communicating with the database layer, and here it is exposing all the data at client side. So this kind of system, basically, whenever we are doing any POCs where we don't have to think about architecture or any other things, bottlenecks or other things, we generally prefer this two-tier architecture. Now, so I hope you are clear with the two-tier direct access architecture. Now we'll talk about three-tier architecture. So basically in three tiers, what happens is, suppose like you have client, you have server, and once you have done the request to the server, again server will go to the database or like any third party. So there will be a layer, like three layers here. We can say client will request to the server, server will again send the request to database will pull the data and give it to server, server will send it back to the client. These kind of architecture is called three-tier architecture, and most of the monolithic applications we can say follow this kind of architecture. And you can see many other applications, like if you will see like Java and Go Node, like these kind of applications, they are using this we can say the three-tier architecture. And if we say impact, so impact basically scalability increases as each tier can be optimized independently. So basically, every point of time, if we have to optimize, suppose client, or we need to do some optimization at server side, or we need to do some changes in the database level, we can always have flexibility to do this at each component. So these are the advantages when we use three tier. Now, when we talk about anti architecture, basically, if you talk about anti architecture here, mostly we talk about microservices. Here, like what happens is like you will be having client, you will be having like you will be having a load balancer or something you can assume, and from here it will redirect the request to multiple servers. We can have for one microservices, we can have n number of servers. So here, number of components will be not one or two or three. It can be n number of components. Like it can be having API gateway, load balancer, CDN, multiple servers, or caching mechanism, or like queue, like messaging queues. So all those things comes when comes in the picture. Then those kind of architecture is called microservices level architecture, and there mostly we prefer n-tier architecture. So I hope you're clear with what is two-tier architecture, one-tier architecture, three-tier and n-tier architecture. Like one-tier architecture, basically, like suppose when client is doing everything in their local machine, then in that case they are not even communicating with the database or any second party. Then that kind of architecture we call it as one-tier architecture. So this was all about what is client server, what is client server architecture, how they communicate between each other. Basically, what is one tier, two tier, three tier anti architecture, what is thick, thin, and like a hybrid client. So I hope this will give you understanding of what actually it is, and based on this video, you can like do deep dive into it, and you can learn further related to this topic. And in the upcoming videos, we are going to cover whatever we have discussed during the syllabus discussion of our playlist. So for this video, we are done now, and thank you for watching this video. You can subscribe this channel and like this video, and keep continue watching this videos so that it will motivate me, and we are going to meet soon in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching this video. Till then, bye bye.